Do you want to get more work, start a new business, or even advertise old school? Today, I'm going to talk about all that and more. Let's get started. What's up, fellow marketers? I'm Chris Kapelski, and welcome to another Marketing Questions edition of Marketing Tip Monday. If you're new to the channel, this is a new series we're testing out. Gonna launch into a full series later this year, where you send in your questions and I answer them, marketing related, business related, or otherwise. So if you have a question, go ahead and submit it in the comments below, or hit me up on LinkedIn with your question and I'll be happy to answer it there, or maybe even feature it in one of these videos. As always, before we get started, just go ahead and hit the like button down below, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do that now. It helps us out a ton with the YouTube algorithm and it helps get these videos to people who need to see them. So now, let's hop into the questions. The first question says, Chris, the COVID pandemic finally had an impact on our business. We weren't affected by the initial outbreak, but now that it's persisted, our business has come to a halt. If we don't get work immediately, we're going to have to close. What can we do to get some new work right now? Well, first of all, again, sorry to hear that the COVID pandemic's affected your business. I know it's affected a ton of people and has created difficult times, both when it first hit and now that things have kind of drug out. Everybody's experiencing pain points at different points along the process. If you need more work right now, that's a great question, and I got some great advice on it, and I think a lot of people skip over it. Have you looked or talked to your existing clients recently? What I recommend is there's a lot of value in existing clients. Maybe they're clients you did work for a year ago, 2 years ago, or even a few months ago. There's probably more work that can be done there if you go back and talk to them. For us, we build websites, we do marketing. Websites need updated. So we check in with our existing clients on a regular basis, and that brings us more work and brings them value by making sure that their websites and stuff stay up to date on a regular basis. Also, your existing clients know a ton of people. They have networks of their own and can go out, and if you say, hey, we really need to get a handful of jobs right now, do you know anybody that needs XYZ services? You might just be surprised that they have a whole slew of people that need those things. They just never thought to ask because they were so busy with their life. So first and foremost, make sure you reach out to your existing clients and see what they have to say. If you've tried that or you're looking for other things to do, nothing beats the good old door-to-door approach. You can't really go door-to-door now. I guess you can in some instances, but just get out in the environment more. Maybe that's speaking engagements, or maybe there's other opportunities for networking and other places that would bring a new clientele to your business. Anytime you can get in front of new people, you're going to capture a very small percentage, but you will capture work from those people. So talk to your existing clients and look for new work in areas that maybe you haven't considered before. And I think you'll find yourself with some new work pretty quickly. Let's get another question. Hey Chris, I'm just getting started in business and I want to grow it quickly. Friends have suggested I start marketing as most of my business right now is word of mouth. Where should I start? That's a great question, and thanks for reaching out when you were getting started. Hopefully some of this will help you. The process that I use or tell people for starting new businesses is a simple 3-step process. It's what, who, and where, in that order. I'll explain, and there's also some pitfalls along the way that I want you to watch out for. So the what, think about what you want your business to be. You mentioned your friends in the question, and it's great to listen to friends, get advice from friends, but oftentimes our friends don't necessarily know what's best for us or what we want. So it's critical that when you're very first starting your business, that you think about what you want. What do you want your business to be? What products do you want to sell? What services do you want to provide? And maybe what are the goals of that business? If you can think about what you want to do, that's pivotal in having a successful business. If you're trying to do a business for someone else or you're trying to do it because your friends say, ultimately it's not going to succeed. So think about what you want and work towards that. Now, one of the pitfalls that I've seen early on in business is people want to say yes to everything. And I was terrible at this. When I started my business, somebody would come along, and we do websites and marketing. Somebody would come along and say, hey, can you do graphic design? We need a new logo. We'd say, yep, sure, we could do that. Hey, can you do a vinyl sign for me? We need a vinyl sign for a car. I want just a little decal. It's simple. Sure, we could do that. Like everything that came along, we said, yeah, we can do that. It was because I feared missing out on getting paid. I feared not having enough money to make the bills work. And the longer I went into business, the more I realized that actually kept me from probably progressing my business faster. If I just stayed focused on what I wanted to do, then the business would have grown probably quicker, much quicker, and I would have been successful a lot faster than I was. So that's the what. The second part is the who. So once you know the what, you have to think about who can utilize those products or services, whatever you're going to bring to the table. What do they look like? What are the demographics? And what kind of things do they do? Think about all of the identifiers of who your target market are. That's the who. And last but not least, you need to sell some stuff and you need to get some business, so you have to think about where. Think about where those people participate and think about where they spend their time. If you can figure out where your target market is and who your target market is, and you know what you're selling, you're going to have a really successful business. Now, one last caveat I'll give you is be careful in the startup phase about spending money. A lot of people say you got to spend money to make money, and in some instances, that's very, very true. But early on in business, I see a lot of people, and again, something I even did, spending money when I didn't need to spend money. I spent money on equipment I didn't need, or I spent money on systems, or even some cases people that we didn't necessarily need right at that time. So be extremely careful about spending money in your startup phases, because that could ultimately hinder your growth. So think about what, think about who, and think about where, and I think you'll have a pretty successful business going forward. Let's get to another question. Hey Chris, the like button's still gray and it's supposed to be blue. How do I fix that? Well, you could go ahead and just hit the like button right down below right now, and your like button will turn from gray to blue. All joking aside, let's get to another question. Dear Chris, we've had a couple of salespeople reach out trying to sell us radio ads. One of our partners loves the idea of being on the radio and even some billboards. The other partners, including myself, think these are too old school. Are these old school forms of advertising dead? That's a great question, and I've talked to a lot of people about old school forms of advertising lately. I don't know if the salespeople are going around or what's happening. In short, I think yes. Old school advertising is essentially dead for just about everybody. However, there are some exceptions to those rules, and I'll share that with you now because I think it's important. If your business operates in a rural area, maybe internet's not super fast, or in some instances, we've helped clients that have no internet at all. Yes, those areas still exist. So if your business is in an area like that, then other forms of non-digital advertising, whether that be radio, newspapers, even television, or whatever the case may be, tend to be paramount. They tend to be more important than the internet, obviously, because there's not a lot of that there. So if you're in a rural area, it may be important to consider some of those old school pieces of advertising. You also have to think about your target market. Some of the target markets out there, depending upon what your business is, only focus still on older forms of advertising. For example, if your target market's 65, 75, 80 years old, and you're working in a nursing home or something to that effect, a lot of the people looking for those types of services tend to be looking on radio or in the newspaper or in other places that are considered old school. So think about your target market and think about where they spend their time. Just like I mentioned in the last question, where your target market spends their time is going to be really important about how you spend your marketing dollars and where you spend your marketing dollars. So think about that. And then last but not least, I think there's room for improvement and use of old school advertising if you've run out of other digital options. So if you're doing social media, if you run pay-per-click ads, if you're running Facebook ads, if you've exercised all the options and they're all running at peak performance and you still want to grow your business, then maybe you could turn to some of those old school types of advertising to continue to get new clients in the door. Those tend to be the exceptions to the rule, so to speak. Otherwise, I tend to think, media is pretty much dead and it's all digital world all the time now. So think about those things, and if you fall into one of those exceptions, that's something to consider. And if you don't, just look into digital marketing. All right, time for another question. Chris, we're thinking about starting a social media account. We want to be able to get information to our audience quickly. However, we don't have a ton of time to manage it. Are we opening the door for pushback and setting ourselves up for failure by creating an account? That's a great social media question. I'm glad you asked, especially before you got into it and found out all the intricacies of social media. So hopefully I can help you out in your decision. What I heard in there was a couple different things. First, you want to get information to your audience quickly. Social media is great at getting information out to people, but if you're trying to guarantee that information is going to get to a specific audience quickly, social media isn't the greatest place for that. As you may know or have heard, Facebook, YouTube, all these places have algorithms that they follow, and you really have to follow those algorithms to get your information to people. So if you have a list of, say, 200 people and you want them all to see the information that you're putting out, YouTube's probably not going to be the best way. Facebook's not going to be the best way. Social media in general, not the greatest way to get information to those 200 people quickly. Instead, if I could lend a suggestion, think about maybe text message marketing or email marketing. Both of those systems would allow you to take your audience of 200 or whatever it is, put something into the system. Maybe it's a quick text update about something that's happened, or maybe it's a more in-depth update and you want to send it via email. But both of those systems will allow you to hit go, and that information will go to your entire audience. Social media won't do that for you. The other thing I kind of sounded like was maybe you're trying to use social media because it's popular or because somebody recommended it. That's not necessarily the best course of action, especially since two other things you said, not enough time to manage it. That's a big red flag for me. And are you opening the door for pushback? Both of those things are not great on social media. If you open a social media account, you are absolutely going to get every single person who wants to comment commenting on your social media pages. They're going to give you opinions. They're going to give you whatever they want to give you, whether you ask them to or not. That's just the world that we live in, and that's social media these days. So yes, you are opening that door, and you have to be very careful about doing it. When you open the door, you absolutely have to have time to handle those restrictions. So if you don't have the time and you're worried about opening the door, I would say skip social media altogether. And if you're trying to get information to your audience very quickly, look at text messaging or look at email marketing. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you haven't hit the like button yet, do it right now. It's your last chance before the video's over, and you won't get a chance unless you watch the whole thing again. Also, don't forget to scroll on down and click that red subscribe button to see future videos. If you want to submit a question and have it answered in a future video, we're going to leave a comment and you just reply to that comment below with your question. We'll try to fit it into one of the upcoming videos. You can also hit me up, Chris Kapelski, on LinkedIn, and I will try to answer your question there or put it into a video as well. Thanks for joining us on this Marketing Tip Monday. I look forward to seeing you all on the next Marketing Tip Monday. We'll see you.